Like when I see a baby, my first thing that I do is I go and touch their head. Because I want to see how hydrated they are. Any baby, not even my patients, like any baby. I'm like, oh.
Did you know God actually said it's better to burp and taste it than to fart and waste it?
Oh.
Yeah, and dad and mommy taught Garv to do that.
How does your body make pee?
From the pee-pee?
But what part of your
From your
body
ding
makes...
dong.
No.
From right here?
From what? What is there?
Your bladder.
Okay, so your bladder stores urine. What makes urine?
Hi everybody, welcome back to Wellness Wizards. Today we will be discussing the topic of dehydration. And please remember to click the like and subscribe button down below. Thank you.
All right, so I am really excited to talk about this topic because we're going to talk about my favorite beverage of all time.
What?
What?
Water.
Yes, the best beverage that you could ever have. So we're going to talk about dehydration, and I want to start out by talking about some really sad news that happened very recently.
Somebody died.
Somebody died, yeah. And actually, it's not a very uncommon thing, but it is a very, very unfortunate thing that happened at the Taylor Swift concert.
Oh, right, in Brazil, because they weren't letting anybody bring in their own water bottles. Only they had to buy the bottles there, and they ran out of bottles.
Well, only one person died, but other people did suffer from heat stroke. It was something like 106 degrees outside. It was really hot, and they had been waiting for a long time. And this woman, 23-year-old woman named Ana Clara Benavides Machado, passed away from dehydration. She was taken to the hospital. She didn't die there, but she was taken to the hospital, and then she passed away from dehydration or heat stroke. So it's a pretty serious thing.
So just because people wanted money from other people, they killed people to get money?
Well, they didn't kill people, but I think that they didn't think it all through. I don't want to chastise the organizers of the event, but it was a pretty awful thing. And
Just let people bring their own food and water into
Well,
concert.
if they bring like metal water bottles and stuff, it could be like people who don't like Taylor Swift could like throw the stuff at her.
yeah, but so I mean, the point is that they did start letting people bring the water bottles the next day. So it was like last Friday. So then she had the concert on Saturday again, and they did allow people to bring their water bottles in, and they also had water available, and I think that they made the water for free on Saturday. So I think that, there was a lesson learned from that. But I do want to talk about dehydration. But the thing is that a lot of people can get dehydrated. And do you know that only like 25% of kids drink enough water? And there are some statistics.
I don't think I'm a part of that 25%.
Well,
I
you know
probably
what?
drink like 3 sips of water a day.
Yeah, then I think that you're part of the 25% that's dehydrated. And dehydration is a huge problem worldwide. Actually, it's diarrhea and dehydration together are the second biggest killer worldwide for children less than 5 years old.
Mama, I have a thing to say.
Mm-hmm.
You messed up.
What?
You said only 25% of children are not drink the right amount of water and are not dehydrated. But I'm like, I don't think I'm a part of that 20%. And you're like,
Oh, okay. So, sorry, let me clarify. Only about 25% of children drink adequate amounts of water.
okay, I don't think I'm a part of that 25% because I only drink like 3 sips of water a day.
Yeah, so I would agree. And I think that we can maybe talk about some of the symptoms of dehydration that maybe we've even had in the
I'm a
past.
part of that 25%.
You think you're a part of the 25% that
Really?
drinks
You
milk?
come home from school every day with a full water bottle.
All right. Well, you know what? So let's talk about dehydration and what are the symptoms of dehydration or the signs of
Headaches.
dehydration. Yeah. But before you have a headache, like what's something that
Migraines.
you say when you're what? You're like, I'm
Thirsty.
thirsty. And if you're thirsty, that means that you're already kind of behind on your fluids. You need to be drinking enough fluids. And thirsty is your brain saying,
Then
we
I'm
already don't have enough fluid.
then I'm thirsty.
Then you're thirsty?
Yeah.
Okay. So basically, everyone at this table is dehydrated right now?
Yeah.
Thirsty.
All right. So we got to work on that then. Okay. So, but, there are a lot of different other signs and symptoms of dehydration. So I'll tell you.
I'm salivating for water.
You're salivating for water. Do you want to take a break and go get a water? Do you want to take a break and go get a water? Okay. Why don't you guys go and go get water? Can you get water for everybody? Ah, thank you.
What? Mom gets a whole bottle?
No, it's not even half full.
So that means that only 25% of children get enough fluid.
That's sad.
Well, yeah. So I've seen kids that have vomiting and diarrhea who have been really, really severely dehydrated. I even had one kid that was so dehydrated that he was like lethargic. And when you tell a pediatrician a kid is lethargic, like that is one of the only things that will cause panic for
What
a
is
pediatrician.
lethargic?
Lethargic. So a lot of people think lethargic is just like they're tired, but for us, for a pediatrician, tired is tired, and lethargic is like this is tired, okay, and probably because you're dehydrated. And lethargic is actually totally different, where they're like floppy and they don't have any tone, and I mean that's a really bad sign that they're so severely dehydrated that time is of the essence, and making sure that they get fluids in them, or they could crash. They could die. So we are very, very careful about that. We're very aggressive
I'm gonna
in making
die.
sure. No, I'm not.
You're tired. You're not lethargic.
You're just tired. Okay, I'm talking about kids that are in really bad shape that I've taken care of, to the point that so we try to give them some fluids by mouth. If they can't tolerate it, then we have to stick an IV, or if they're really dehydrated, then sometimes we have to put an IV in them, like in their vein, and give them fluids to their vein.
Like how you were in India.
Yes, like what happened to me in India. That's
You
right.
were lethargic?
I was not lethargic, but I was very dehydrated. I was very dehydrated.
Then
and that's
why
I
didn't
needed
you
to have
just drink
fluid.
some water and then you would have been fine?
I was vomiting a lot and having diarrhea, so I couldn't keep the fluid.
Oh.
So when we talk about dehydration, that means that you're losing more fluid than you're taking in, right? Kind of basic. But it's what your body needs to be able to function. So there's different, there's mild, moderate, and severe dehydration. And, I think I was in India, I was moderate. I've taken care of kids that have had really severe dehydration. And one kid, since his blood vessels had collapsed, we couldn't even get the
what is
like
that
they were
mean?
small, like there wasn't even enough fluid to keep them open. They were like down. They were like deflated. Like think of a balloon, but it's like a deflated balloon, right?
Oh, because there wasn't even enough water?
Yeah, he was so dehydrated, there wasn't enough water to even like keep the the good tone that we could get an IV in him, and we had to put what's called an IO, or an intraosseous access.
What's that?
Which we basically put it into the bone, and then it goes right into the bone marrow, and it delivers it right into the bone marrow, because the bone marrow is where the blood is made, or the parents of the blood is made.
But doesn't that mean that you'd break the bone?
So you'd have to stick a needle that goes straight down into the bone.
But that'd break the bone.
Yeah, then
It doesn't break the bone. You're not supposed to put it in a broken bone, but it goes straight down, so the fluid goes directly into the bloodstream, or into the blood.
How many times has that happened?
I've only done it once, and I don't think that most people have to do it, at least in the Western world. But more kids die in developed countries from dehydration than in the U.S. In the U.S., overall, something about 500,000 people end up in the hospital with dehydration, and about 10,000 people die every year in U.S. hospitals from dehydration. That sounds like a lot, right? Like just from dehydration, because we have access to clean water. Most places, there's access to clean water. And places where there's not as much access to clean water, or they have, like I said, like you can not drink enough water, or you can be losing water from your body. So, in
How do
either
you
of those
lose water?
two. Actually, great question. How do you lose water?
Is it that you peel up?
Yeah, so that's one way you can lose water. What else?
You sweat?
Mm-hmm. So sweat, urine. Where else?
Uranus.
Okay. Good. So yes, from Uranus, because you actually lose water in your poop, right? Like what happens if you have diarrhea?
Isn't anus pee?
No. Oh my gosh, Maya.
Anus is your butt?
Yeah.
Urine is
Anus
pee.
is your butthole.
Urine
I thought
is
anus was
pee.
your ding dong.
Urine is pee, so Uranus is pee butt.
You would poop. You poop out of your anus, okay? And but that's where one of the places that you can lose fluid. And so like people who are constipated are what?
Fluid loss.
Yes, they don't have enough fluid. So they're what? What are we talking about?
Dehydrated.
Yes. So
Dehydrated poop.
constipation is a sign of dehydration.
So if you have diarrhea, does that mean you're having too much water?
You're losing a lot of water through your poop. So a lot of people think, this is like going completely off topic. A lot of people think that diarrhea is how often you poop, but actually it's the consistency. So it's watery poop. That's diarrhea.
Yeah, I have watery poop.
Oh, all right. Well, we're going to talk about that on a different episode.
Let's
okay?
give you an IV fluid.
Yeah.
So poop. Okay, so we talked about three things. So we talked about from your breathing, from your sweat, right? So the more you sweat, the more fluid
Wait,
you'll
you're
lose.
breathing?
Yes, from your breathing. Your breathing is one way. So when you breathe, you lose fluid. Okay. When you sweat, you lose fluid. When you pee, you lose fluid. When you poop, you lose fluid. How do you make pee, by the way?
By drinking?
No. How does your body make pee?
From the pee-pee?
But what part of
From
your
your
body
ding
makes?
dong.
No.
From right here?
From what? What is there?
Your bladder.
Okay, so your bladder stores urine. What makes urine?
Water?
Okay, so I'm going to help you out here. There are some beans that Neal loves to eat.
Green
Rajma.
beans.
Well, no.
Rajma.
Well, yes, but what is Rajma called?
Kidney beans.
Yes, so
From your kidney.
yes, thank you.
What's a kidney?
So kidney is the organ that filters out
Kidney
your
is a
blood.
pee-pee.
I didn't even know I had a kidney.
There's another
You have
pee-pee in
two
my
kidneys.
body. Oh, there's 3 pee-pees in my body.
Okay, Okay, so you have kidneys that filter out your blood and they make urine, and they help to give your body something called homeostasis. What is homeostasis? Homeostasis is your body's desire to be at an even level, to make sure your fluids are balanced and your salt is balanced, your sodium is balanced, your temperature is balanced, right? Your body really, really wants a total balance. And so the kidneys really help with that, okay?
So the more rajma I eat, the better I pee.
No, that's not how it works.
The
Although it
better
does
I
give you
poop.
fluid. All
The
right.
better I poop.
Okay, yes, because of the fiber.
Wait, so now I have like a million kidneys because I've eaten so much rajma.
Okay. But
Yay,
you only
I have a lot of pee.
the two that function to help you to make urine, okay? So the kidneys make the urine, the bladder stores the urine, and then you pee it out, okay?
Yay,
So-
I love pee.
All right, good. Well, yes, it's a very, very important to help you get all the waste out of your body. So we talked about how many people can get hospitalized. We talked about like having to put an IO in, right? I've even had kids that have been really dehydrated that we had already IV in them, and they were dehydrated because they were vomiting or having diarrhea. And I remember this one kid I was on in the intensive care unit, which is like when you're really sick, that's where you end up. And
The ICU.
The ICU.
Neil's almost gone there.
Neil's almost been in the ICU a couple of times.
As me.
Yeah, but that was for asthma, so that's a different
Wait, do I
story.
pee out my mouth too? Just like I poop out of my mouth?
Fart is poo out is burp.
What?
Fart out of your butt?
No.
You fart out of your mouth is a burp.
The poop out of your mouth is puke. Let's pee out of your mouth.
Okay. So,
Did you know biology said it's better to burp and taste it than to fart and waste it?
oh,
Yeah, and dad and mommy taught Garv to do that.
Yay!
Okay. so, gosh, I'm just like totally getting
This is a fun
distracted here.
podcast.
So fluids. Okay. So you know what? We were talking about this kid. I saw this kid. He was really dehydrated. He was in the ICU. Okay. And he was there were some signs that he was getting more sick, like his heart rate, his heart was pumping faster. Okay. And his blood pressure was going down. And those are signs of also dehydration and that things are going the wrong way. And I was getting really worried about him. And, I asked the nurse, like, please make sure that you can get this fluid into him as fast as possible. And then I went into the room and the fluid was just moving so slowly. And I was like, no way. I was like, this kid, he was starting to he wasn't acting quite normally anymore. He wasn't talking normally anymore. So I put an IV in each arm. And then we were like squeezing the bags. Like we were standing on top of stools and holding onto the bags and squeezing them to get the fluid into.
Why couldn't the nurse have done that with you?
Well, there was other stuff going on. Nurse was also taking care of another kid, and I was getting really worried about this kid.
Couldn't you?
And
so why did you need her?
I needed, because now we had two ports of
Oh,
IV
so
access.
now you guys both
We
have
have
to
two
squeeze
bags,
it.
and I was like, squeeze it. And thankfully that kid, did fine. That kid survived. But there was a point that I was like, this kid actually might not survive. And I was really worried about that. So fluids are incredibly important. So what are some other signs? So that's like severe. That's an extreme. And, what happened at the concert was also an extreme. And then, most of the times we kind of live in that middle part. So we talked about ways that you can lose fluid.
Wait, I think I know another sign of dehydration.
Okay. What?
I think like if you push your fingernail and if its color doesn't come back within 2 seconds, and that's a sign that you're dehydrated.
Yeah, that's right. So okay, maybe we'll talk about the signs of dehydration first. So signs of dehydration. So one of the things that I'll do when I see a little kid is I will, like a baby or a toddler, like a year and a half, less than a year and a half old, is that sometimes I will go up to them and I'll like touch their head like that. I'll touch their head on top. And the reason is that they have this soft spot on top, right? Have you noticed that babies kind of have a soft spot? You haven't noticed that? Okay, so they have a soft spot on top of their head called a fontanelle. And a lot of times everyone's like, oh, the pediatrician's like, touching my kid's head. I'm really doing that. It's kind of a reflex because I'm testing the baby's hydration because it's supposed to be flat. Next time when you see a baby, I'll show you the fontanelle on the baby, okay? So it's supposed to be flat. It's not supposed to be sunken in. That's a sign of dehydration, and it's not supposed to be bulging out. That's a sign of other problems. So it's supposed to be pretty flat across, okay? So that's one of the first things that I check.
What do you mean for reflex?
It's, for me, it's a reflex. Like when I see a baby, my first thing that I do is I go and touch their head. Because I want to see how hydrated they are. Any baby, not even my patients, like any baby, I'm like, oh, and then I'll start touching their head. But so you're right. So your nail is it's blood, right? So you're supposed to touch it and then it comes back to a pink color right away. So if it takes more than 2 seconds, then that's a sign of dehydration. If you are not peeing as much, that's a sign of dehydration. Like if all of a sudden your urine output starts decreasing, or if you have really dark pee, right, like dark yellow, that's a sign that you're dehydrated. Or if it's smelling, really strong, that could be a sign of dehydration too. Okay, your heart rate could get faster because it's trying to send more blood around.
You can urine a lot.
Yeah, and we talked about being thirsty, feeling dizzy, right? Feeling nauseated.
Headaches.
Having headaches. Do you know anyone who has headaches from dehydration? Yes.
Like every single day.
Yeah, so that means that you're not drinking enough fluid, and you have to get ahead of it. And then other things, like more severe things like having seizures could be a sign. Yeah, it can be a sign of your electrolytes.
What's a seizure?
Seizure
Does
is
that
when
mean that Nanima's always dehydrated?
No, she has something else. She has a different reason for getting seizures. So, although maybe she is also dehydrated, I can tell you that on the days that I'm working in the hospital, I do get dehydrated because I don't drink enough
Should I take
fluid.
a hose and spray your mouth?
Okay. So let's talk about some people that are more at risk of being dehydrated. So smaller people. So kids are at higher risk of getting dehydrated because we have like more, if you think about it, you have more skin for the amount of body that you have compared to an older person. Okay. So since you can lose through your skin, you lose fluid through your skin, younger people, smaller people can become dehydrated faster. Also, older people can get dehydrated faster. So in addition to people who are dehydrated because they're older, because they're, they don't get the signal all the time that they are thirsty, that it's time to drink, or they forget. right? Older people who sometimes have issues with their memory might forget to drink water as well. There are other problems like other diseases that can cause it, like diabetes, right? People who have diabetes, one of the signs of diabetes is urinating a lot. Now, a lot of those people also drink a lot of fluid, but at some point, sometimes their output of fluid is more than their input of fluid. So medications can do it. People who take medications, to help get rid of fluid from their bodies, like people who have heart disease, like congestive heart failure, and they take some medications to pee more, or people who take some kinds of chemotherapy, or people who take medications to poop more. So if they're taking laxatives to make their poop softer, sometimes they can lose a lot more fluid. Okay. Who else? Sometimes caffeine can do it. Yeah. So even though, like, if you're drinking coffee, theoretically, you're also drinking water as a part of that coffee. Mm-hmm. But if you're drinking enough caffeine, there are some more concentrated caffeine drinks that can cause somebody to pee out more than they actually take in. And the same thing with alcohol. You could drink a lot of alcohol and also get really dehydrated. There are things, it's not just water, so it's also the balance of the sodium, the salt that we take in. And, so we kind of let go of salt in different conditions like sweating. And then we also have to replenish that salt, okay? But sometimes if we eat foods that are too salty, that can cause some shifts in fluid within our body, and that can cause some dehydration. And sometimes if we don't take enough salt, that can do the same thing. All right, so that's like a really, really it's pretty complicated to go into all the details of all of that.
Salt is hydrate you but dehydrate you.
Salt can cause some shifts in the fluid within your body. Let's talk about maybe how much fluid we need to have. Do you know how much fluid you need to have?
Mama, the diabetes song. When you're
Sliding into home and you're feeling something from diabetes.
Actually, that song is not diabetes. It's diarrhea.
No,
When you're sliding into home and you're feeling something from diarrhea.
Okay.
No, it's diabetes because the foam is the acid.
No.
Yes.
The original song was diarrhea, and it was from a movie a very long time ago. Okay. So
very, very old, long time ago.
It's a very, very It came from a movie a long time
ago.
Okay, let's finish this podcast.
Very good.
All right. So tell me, do you know how much water you should be drinking?
100 liters.
100 liters. Okay, I think that's a little too much water.
The Pacific
a lot
Ocean.
Too much water.
You should have Mama, can you show your water bottle again?
So my water bottle.
You should have at
my water
least
bottle's here.
5 of those a day, right?
Okay. So it depends on the person, the size, how active they are, what kind of problems they have. So it's kind of complicated in general for adults. So for kids, it's a little bit different, okay? Because kids don't weigh that much, but you know that kids need a lot more fluid than adults when you look at it proportionally from the size. So like a baby, so starting at 6 months is when a baby should start drinking water. When they start getting solids, they should be starting some water as well. And at that point, it's about 4 to 8 ounces, or like a half a cup to a cup in a day, okay? And then you just go up from there.
What about for a 10-year-old?
So for a 10-year-old, it's like depends. Either if you're on the you're starting to get bigger, and if you're a heavier 10-year-old, then you would probably go from that calculation. Whereas, if you're on the smaller side, I would probably say about 8 to 9 cups a day is adequate.
Am I on the smaller side?
You are on the smaller side. So I would give you, you're still
bigger side.
No, you're not on the bigger side. If you think about your weight, you're not the weight of an adult. I'm talking about a kid that's the weight of an adult. You're not an adult weight yet. But there are some 10-year-olds that are.
How much is an adult weight?
So an adult weight, like in that 90, 100 pound weight.
Okay, so I've weighed the same for the past 4 years, so I do not seem to be gaining any weight at all.
No, you are gaining some weight.
3 pounds a year.
Your weight is adequate for your age and your height. You're fine.
Is my weight good for my height?
Yeah, your weight is also fine for your height and your age.
Yeah,
I'm tall, right?
You guys are both.
I'm tall, right?
You're short.
How tall I am.
You're short.
So when we're talking about the fluids, it's more complicated than this is exactly how much you need, but there is there okay. But there are some estimations that you can make. If you have any conditions like kidney problems or heart problems, or any chronic issues that need more attention from your doctor, then your doctor should also be giving you the fluid recommendations for you based on your condition, because that does change things. Okay, all right. So let's wrap up.
Mommy, I'm taller than most kids in my class, right?
No, you're not taller than most kids in your
Yeah,
class.
he is, because he's in a 3rd, 4th split, and there's only 5 other 4th graders.
Okay.
Bye-bye, everyone. I hope you come back for our next video, Wellness Wizard. And in case you forgot, hit the like and subscribe button.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you!
Bye.